Hey guys, we're going to be talking about autism masking. Things I didn't know I was masking till now.
My name is Ellie. This is a space for self-growth, healing and honest conversations. If you're growing, healing or just figuring things out, you're in the right place.
So, what is autistic masking? Wow, it has loads of different meanings to it. But, have you ever felt like you've been drained so much easier? Just normal interactions to other people are more draining to you. I find when I mask, I sometimes pretend to be someone I'm not. I mask to fit through the day. And that could be laughing at a joke I didn't find funny, but just trying to pretend like I understand it more, or trying to fit in with the norm, or sometimes I find a conversation confusing. I'll go like, haha, yeah, and that's draining. It will cause me to burn out because I'm basically pretending when people probably think like I'm understanding it, when like really I'm not. I'm just tired and I want to be myself, but the world doesn't quite understand it, so I am masking. Sometimes maybe you're saying to yourself, oh, we're speaking to someone but we need to make more eye contact, we need to look at them straight in the eye, when all they want to do is look around. Another form of masking. How to put it simply, masking is when you are pretending to be something you're not. You're pretending to understand social interaction, social cues. You're ignoring the sensory overload you have in the background. But to you, it's just too much. But to other people, they might think you're getting on fine. Again, it's like performing. It's like pretending to be something you're not. You're scared of people judging you, or, don't feel like you fit in with the norm, so you feel like you have to be someone else when you don't always have to be. To give another example, I also just pretend to small talk. I hate small talking. As an autistic person, I would love to waffle on to you about all of my hobbies. I would love to waffle on to you about how many comics I own, when I brought them, what my favourite character is. But instead I go with a generic, hi, how are you? Someone's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, oh, nice. So then it looks like I'm really quiet when all I want to do is waffle, but I am masking. I do this sometimes at work to fit in with the norm. It's draining. I will come home and I'll just lay there. I'll just be like, oh, and then I'm messaging a friend and I'm just like blabbering on. Yeah. We also do it because we think we're too much and we feel like no one's going to understand it, and all we need to do really is find our people. I would love a job where I could just blabber on and I didn't have to do that, but my podcasts are one of them where I just blabber on and say whatever comes in my mind. So it's draining, it's tiring. I will burn out for days on end, and by burnout I mean I'm not just fatigued, I'm extremely exhausted, so I need my own time, I need my own social battery, I need to not speak to anyone and not have long conversations, because sometimes I just want to energize in my room where I feel comfortable, where I feel safe, and no one can disturb me. That is my way of re-energizing as an autistic person. Yay, guys. Okay, this is quite a serious one. So, why do autistic people mask? Well, like I said, we feel like that's the only way people will understand us. And then when people get to actually know the real us, they'll get confused. One of the ones I get is, you always seem quite happily, you always seem quite bubbly, getting on with it, like, having like I have no problems when I am like just masking. We learn in general, and someone who used to struggle, we learned to keep things in, because it saved us a lot of explaining, a lot of hurt and a lot of pain from the people who wouldn't understand us, and that's one of them that like I won't really ever get over. Yeah, so if I could unmask one day and show people why I like cry a lot more easier, I find things loud, say it out loud, this is really loud, too much, I would. If I could wear my headphones, I would. But unfortunately, it's not always like that. You have to be appropriate, as some people say, in some situations. If If I could be in an autistic world where everything was sensory free, my clothes didn't feel annoying, no one was shouting, right when I'm trying to eat food, or I'm in a restaurant, you can hear all the plates clattering, all the noise. I would be in a world like that. When I got my diagnosis, I was in this room where they assessed me, and I blabbered on about why I'm here, why I thought I had it, because by this time I definitely knew. And I was just like, bro, what the fuck, that car's going past is so loud. And it was just nice. There was stickers in the room, it was colourful, it was clean, everything was organised, it was a peaceful environment. If I could live in an environment like that, I would unfilter. But because we don't also feel safe, that's another one, we don't always feel safe, so we will not unmask, and we will just sit there like a robot, rehearsing conversations, looking straight at someone in the eye, and pretending like we know it all when we're struggling so much. Yeah, I struggle with facial expressions, so sometimes I have to kind of laugh when things, otherwise I'll be like, yeah, they're so funny, ha ha ha, but I'll just look like a robot. So hence why the overexpressed facial expressions, the hand gestures. Oh my god, flappy hands. Oh, that's another one, flappy hands. That is why I do it personally, but why other autistic people might do. In stressful environments, I tend to clench my fists sometimes, because I'm masking. If I could shout and be like, why is so busy? What is going on? Like I would, but again, people would just go, what is she thinking out loud? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Just mutter it to myself. I'm like, you just want to let things out. And I think also part of masking is why things come out quite a lot for us, because we've been masking. Because we get home and we have a flipping cry. We sit there and cry because we just don't feel understood. We don't feel like we can safely unmask. How do I cope with this? Well, I tell myself, couple hours, social interaction, I'm in control of it. I can go home and blabber on as much as I want, Sometimes I just want to stay in my room because it's cozy, it's organised, I know where everything is, and I don't always want to come up my little hole, but I'm happy with that. That's how I re-energise. It takes a lot for me to get out sometimes, but it feels good if I know how my day is going to go and I control that, I structure it as much as I can. I will be fine, but then if something goes wrong, I will literally cry. Hence why I try and keep to a schedule. My sleep schedule is completely screwed. I'm still trying to work on that one. Why do people mask? Why do I mask? Well, again, we do it to avoid being hurt. We do it to avoid getting bullied, because when we were younger, we might have been perceived as different or weird, so we try and blend into the norm, but it still doesn't look right. It still doesn't feel right. And that's one of them that will always kind of hurt me, as we try and fit in the world, but we also still feel like we don't, because in our brain we're mentally tired when probably no one sees that. What's the causes of this delayed diagnosis? It causes anxiety. I mean, it is more common for autistic people to get anxious because we don't like change, we find it distressing. The reason I like my room, I stay in it, is because it's my comfort. I'm content in my room, like being around the people who make me feel happy, because I can predict what they're like, and I know they'll be there for me, and it makes me feel happy, and I like to be in those environments, and I try and stop myself going in environments that are chaotic and I can't control, because it will make me distressed. I think that's why my symptoms are a lot better than it used to be, because now I have my diagnosis and I understand myself, so it's less distressful for me, and it helps. I realised I was masking, or I realised I had autism when I searched up what the traits of autism were, and they just didn't align with my ADHD. Because I'd always class myself in my videos as an extrovert and an introvert. Someone who likes to recharge on their own and love to be social in tiny groups, but someone who hates being social in big groups, and likes to just be in pretty simple places. I absolutely love being an extrovert in small environments, but it will have to be a limited amount of time, otherwise I will crash and I will burn if it's too much. Hence why I can't do much in a day that are mentally draining, because the next day I'll be tired. What changed after that? I think knowing who my people were, 100%. What changes knowing who my people were? A goal of people who I feel comfortable with, who get me, and I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. I feel like when I'm more comfortable with people, I can also be someone who's calm and loud. I feel like sometimes in environments I'm not sure about, I like try and be a bit louder a little bit because I'm trying to fit in, where someone who'd actually get me and understand me would know I'm actually generally pretty chill. See, I can be an extrovert and an introvert, but it really just depends. Can you stop masking? I don't know. I feel like you can to an extent, but even if you don't have ADHD, autism, all of those sort of things, you still need to know when to be appropriate. Like in general, you might just be a loud and bubbly person, but you can't be a loud and bubbly in person in like a library. You can't just be shouting across the room. So I think to be relatable, yes, you can, but with boundaries, and that's going for not just someone who has that, but in general, as a person who wouldn't. Um, unmasking gradually, finding your people, learning when to be like that, when to not be like that, because you do have to be professional in some environments, and that's normal, and that does not mean that you're any less, but it means there are rules that you have to follow, and yeah. So 100%, but yeah, it needs to be the right, I guess, environment. You need to sort of get to a point where it doesn't burn you out all the time. That's what I went wrong. I was giving myself mentally draining tasks and burning out quickly because I didn't realise I was masking with these tasks and then getting burnt out. And then I had to recover for 3 to 4 days. That was where I went wrong. You've got to accept them as well, and you've got to be around people who get you, who listen. So you want to be around someone who listens to you. You want to be around people. There's nothing worse being around people who won't listen to you, who won't understand you. No matter how many times you explain it, there's nothing worse, because you'll just go back to masking. Masking is a horrible thing. It's not nice. It's not pleasant. It feels like, you're always in a world of aliens, and you're the one left out, as I would describe it. There's nothing wrong with masking. There's nothing wrong with unmasking at all. If you want to mask for reasons, I get it. And if you don't want to mask, I get that too. And I'm learning. I'm at the stage where I want to mask when appropriate, but I always want to unmask. So 10% of masking, 90% of unmasking. Masking, isn't weak. It's a strategy to survive. It's a strategy to get through your days without, getting overwhelmed on the spot. When I'm agitated, I will walk around and I'll look stressed, but, you're not really going to know that unless you kind of understand that. It's almost like someone putting a hold on your personality because you think you've done something wrong. That is the way I would word it. You're masking who you really are to fit in with other people, but you feel like you don't fit in when you're doing that because you're losing your personality. I don't know. I always think I've accepted me. I don't know who I would be. I feel like I'd be like the most boring person ever. I wouldn't be able to hyper-focus into anything. I'll just be getting on with it, just be not stressing about my day to day. I feel like it would be like an easier life, but then you still have your problems no matter what. It would just be a very where's Ali gone? Where's that girl who chats loads? I really don't think I have a personality. I probably won't be as quirky as I am. I love to say I'm quirky because I am. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just generally a quirky person, with my little skull. Ooh, that's focused nice. Look at him. I want it. I went to Butlins and I want it. Oh my god. Yeah, I got my Spider-Man dude there. Got it at the cinema. Yeah. There would be no Ellie if she was not quirky. So yeah. Wow, I love this episode. I absolutely love this episode, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying here to the end. Yeah, goodbye. See you in the next one.